Thank you for joining us. Let's first start with you introducing yourself. So, if you could tell us a little bit about the degree you graduated with at UH Hilo, where you're from, what did you want to be, and then if that changed anytime through your college experience.
I'm Robin Lockwood. I grew up in Esther, Alaska, which is a small town in the interior of the state, and grew up with that Alaska-Hawaii connection, right? So it was a place near and dear to my family. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science degree in marine science, and because of the prerequisite or the GREs that you need, it perfectly lined up to get an education certificate as well. And so it just kind of naturally flowed with the time of day that I like to take classes. I knew since I was really tiny that I wanted to be a marine biologist, but didn't really understand what that meant. And so by going to the UH of Hilo, I studied marine science and realized that I liked chemistry more than biology, actually. And it was through them that my career totally changed paths, but not entirely, in the fact that I liked talking about science more than I liked performing the procedures of science, basically. And so the education certificate really helped just mold my journey into becoming a science teacher rather than a scientist in practice.
Okay, so our next question is, can you share with us a little about your academic and career journey?
Yeah, so I graduated with my degree in marine science and the certificate in education. And throughout the process of getting the BS in marine science, I was required to do multiple different internships and practicums. And so I did that through the Alaska Sea Life Center and the National Park Service, and really loved connecting with people and sharing about conservation efforts and science. And so that led to some different programs. And even after I had graduated from the University of Hawaii, professors were still sharing ideas and jobs with me. And I ended up in China teaching science at a private school in Beijing for a little bit, and then decided to go back and get a master's of science in outdoor and environmental science education. And after working at numerous different science education jobs, I decided to go back and get a certificate to teach in public school. And so added that along the way. And so now I am a high school, actually math and digital media teacher right now, but teach science as an ad needed basis, I guess, for my school district.
And that's pretty cool that you got to travel the world. Our next question is, can you share with us a little bit about where you are today in your career? So along the lines of where are you currently employed, what is your current position, and then a brief description of what you do in your position.
I love that the question asks, where am I in my career journey? Because there's no, I don't feel like there's an end right now. I'm always trying to add one piece or another that always comes when you least expect it, right? So right now I live in Wasilla, Alaska, so kind of south central. And I teach at actually the largest school district on the west coast of the United States. So that is land-wise, not student-based. And I started by teaching science and now have transitioned into math and digital media. And so I have students that range from 9th grade all the way up to 12th grade. And the really interesting part is that I would never have gotten this position as a digital media teacher. But when I was at UHH, I worked for the Outdoor Adventure program as a dive master and would take videos and photos of all of our students and just kind of played around with Adobe Premiere and all of these different software programs. And so when they were looking, someone was phasing out and they were looking to someone to phase in, it was a natural transition, as it was just a small pastime of mine in college to do this. And so fun that it's come full circle.
Nice. Our next question is, how did UH Hilo's location and resources contribute to your college experience and or journey?
The location is perfect, right? For someone who's going into marine science, or even friends who have studied geology or biology or all of these different pieces that require the natural world. I was out diving or snorkeling every week with classes, and it was easy to get on research projects with professors that would never happen with friends of mine that went to large schools in the lower 48 or the mainland, as we call it in Hawaii. The other piece that was really important coming from a state like Alaska with an indigenous population, that I felt like it was culturally diverse, and I was learning every day about who I am and my presence on the earth as it compares to others. And so I appreciate the location because of that, but then the resources that it gave me to discover who I am and how to not be the most dominant person in the room that my skin often connotates, right? But because UHH is a small school and every professor truly cares about you, I am not joking that I still have email correspondence every other month with professors in education as well as marine science. And still people will tell me, because I am teaching science, oh, we just did this. Do you want to share with your students what's going on? Or some of my education professors have become like lifelong friends because they truly care about who I am as an individual and want to make sure that I continue to grow in this career journey, right, as I am here. The other piece that I guess that it's like resource-based, but I have shared that I have numerous degrees and professors don't always have a love of teaching, but I noticed that even if I was taking organic chemistry or calculus 4, my teachers were there to teach, not just do research. And so it was so nice to have professors who shared a love of teaching like myself and really, were there for every one of their students.
Yes, Hilo does have that small town feeling to it. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it has its downsides.
I know, right?
But our next question is, how did UH Hilo help prepare you for your career and your career journey, whether that's academically or through campus life and extracurricular activities?
I broke this up into numerous categories because there's so many great things that I want to share. And truly with my students who are trying to decide on colleges, I'm like a broken record about a few things, my dog and UHH. Like truly, it is a school that I recommend to everyone because I love, as you said, the small town feel, right? It's truly a family that I appreciate. So the one way that helped prepare me is academically, right? We have highly skilled professors who are passionate about their subject area, but then are great at teaching. I also really appreciate the partnerships that those professors and those programs develop. So in the education program, you are in schools every week if you want to be. You have teachers who are sharing their career path and how they got there. And as the marine science side of things, there's internships, volunteer opportunities, job opportunities constantly shared and truly available for you. They are not just going to go unanswered. I really appreciated, and I think looking back on it more than when I was a student, I really appreciated all of the library's resources of having everything at my fingertips. If I asked for something, they would even purchase a subscription to a journal just because I was the person who was interested in reading about it, which was pretty special. As someone who went on to get more degrees, I had to take the GREs and the praxis exam, and there were great testing resources available to me, which was really lovely. And as math and science minded person, English or writing is not my strong suit. And so it was nice to have tutoring available in every aspect. And just because all of those things are available, I now know how to ask for help in my life because there are options for anything, right? As far as campus life and extracurriculars, I worked for the outdoor adventure program. And before I did as a junior and a senior, I made great friends and had an activity on the weekend that connected me not only to the campus, but to the island. And that I think made it easier to stay, right? That you start to love the Big Island. I also worked for, I don't actually know what it was called. I was a tour guide because I love UHH so much. And so that was fun to have a job and meet different people and really get comfortable with the teaching side of things. The other piece is that I was lucky enough to play tennis for UHH, which helped instill just team camaraderie and how to work together. And once again, we were from all places around the world, which was nice to have a culturally diverse group of people. school.
I also related about like the resources and like having trouble, like asking for help. I still struggle with that sometimes, but I
Yeah.
definitely relate.
Yep. I went on a semester-long exchange. And so that was also really nice to have that partnership. And I had gone on a year-long exchange in high school and knew that I didn't have a year to spend in a different country. And so semester at sea was offered while I was going to school there. And so just another awesome opportunity that was made available and truly I learned about because UHH is such a small campus, right? So I was able to go because of that, I think.
So our next question is, what skills or knowledge from your college experience did you find most useful in your career?
I really love that I worked in fish hatcheries and some different things before switching all the way over to being education based. I loved the applicable use of learning. Like my first week as a 18-year-old freshman, we were in the water swimming, collecting data that directly related to the stats course that I was taking. And we had guest speakers coming in of like, this is literally what we will pay you to do as soon as you graduate. So those skills gave me a leg up in the workforce right away because it wasn't someone fumbling to teach me them. I had been practicing them and became proficient at them over 4 years. As far as it goes with education, I really appreciate the certificate because as I moved on in my career, folks were joining in from all different walks of life. But I once again had heard about this since I was 18. So coming in my mid 20s, there were people who had never thought about things and I had been pushed to do so with a wide variety of course offerings.
That's really nice. Yeah, getting out there and getting that experience, that can really help you so much. Our next question is, what do employers in your field look for in new graduates or job applicants?
I'm going to speak from the education standpoint of things. And really, I think that nowadays people are looking for this perfect mix of being passionate about teaching and then depth of knowledge in your content area, alongside organizational skills are going to go a long ways as well. But you can't just be great at content, being a great mathematician or a great scientist, but you can't just love the teaching aspect of things. We're looking for a perfect blend.
Our last question for you is, what advice do you have for students as they look for future careers or for future programs to apply to? And what suggestions do you have for students as they plan for their future?
Good question. This is a silly analogy that I use with my own students. But if we think about life having a ton of doors, and I realize that that metaphor is used all the time, is that sometimes those doors are going to be under lock and key, and it'll take a key that you would have gathered at some other point in your life to open it. And so you never know when a key is going to be needed. And so gathering as many as you can along the way to just have them in your tool belt or on a key ring is going to best equip you to make decisions in your future. And I'm so grateful because so many keys were acquired in that 4-year time frame, from friends that I made to college professors to experiences that I had to the sport that I played, the jobs, that I still have some keys that are getting a little rusty because I haven't used them at all. But the ones that I have used have become so helpful. And it's just cool to look back to see, oh, it's only in that person's class for 6 months, but they got me a contract that is the reason that I have a car right now, or these different pieces that have added up. UH Hilo has provided so many opportunities that continue to help, and one that recently happened, and my parents' dog was diagnosed with a rare form of nasal cancer, and her tumor was they tried to catch it, but because it was so rare, it wasn't showing up on any tests. My mom told me the one place in the US that had a place to help them was in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I was like, I think I've heard of the college that you're talking about before. Let me just think about it for a second and I'll let you know. Turns out the person who I was thinking of was my freshman year chemistry lab partner, who was just randomly assigned to me, but I still had on Facebook. So they were popping up with what they were doing at this veterinary teaching college. And so I messaged them and they're like, oh, it's a 6 to 8 month wait. I'm so sorry, but if you put your name in, I will let the person know that you are looking. And my parents had called on a Tuesday, and the Thursday, 2 days later, got a phone call that they had been moved up to start treatment on Monday. And I realize it's a dog, not a human, right? So it's a little goofy of a story, but truly, just because I was kind to someone and worked with someone for 6 months in a college class, I was able to help them. And so those kinds of things continuously happen. And do I use chemistry every day in my life? No, I do not. But that truly was the reason I took that class. And so it is nice to see how things come full circle and, just be okay with, I guess that's the advice, is to be okay with the fact that you might do something and not see the benefits of it for 15 years or 6 months, but just to stick with it because you never know when it was supposed to be important in your life.
Thank you for that. I think a lot of students need to hear that it's good to keep an open mind, no matter the situation or whatever comes your way. It's good to keep an open mind.